And with me now, the senior investigator on the case. Mr. MacMillan, I mean, are you happy with the sentences that were passed down today?
It's not the usual practice of the constabulary to comment on sentencing, but I think it is fair to say that the bench, the acting Deemster, Mr Turner QC, has taken a serious view, especially in respect of Charles Lewin.
I mean, there was so much work put into this. They're talking about up to £3 million could be in costs. Was it worth it to convict? Mr Lewin actually pleaded guilty at the last minute, didn't he? So there was just these two lower offences as such, and they got suspended sentences.
Well, firstly, I can't comment about £3 million. I have no idea where that sum came from. In terms of the constabulary, we spent over the nigh on 3 years about £11,000. Much of that is the standard administration of justice, the preparation of large, and they're correctly named, bundles of paperwork to facilitate the prosecution and defence. So from a constabulary perspective, I would suggest it's not a huge sum of money.
I mean, what sort of signal do you think it's sending out?
I think it indicates clearly that the law as it exists does work. The referral from the registration officer to the Attorney General's and thereafter, after consideration, the referral on to the police worked correctly.
I mean, a lot of the victims as such in this were people who didn't have English as their first language, or they'd be classed as vulnerable.
I think it's fair to say a large number of the victims in this matter, and we're talking over 280 referrals from the registration officer, were vulnerable. There were people who were vulnerable either through their age or their infirmity, but also those who don't have English as a first language. Indeed, some of them, their English was so poor, we had to use interpreters merely to establish their status in the investigation. Were they victims or were they happy to be part of the proxy voting system? Their English was that poor.
And finally, is this the end of this case? Because obviously the other people were mentioned in court and linked to it, but it is, as far as you're concerned, this case is now closed?
The counsel for the two defendants who were subsequently tried to conviction did make reference during the trial to other parties, inferring they were further up the tree. I have written and spoken with counsel for both parties, and in fact there is no further evidence they're aware of that would infer anybody had a criminal part in this election.